While it had only been a couple of seconds since my departure from that cursed manor, it felt like several weeks. I had truly crossed a threshold, but as Torrent bore me through the rocky terrain, we were attacked by disgusting hands, lurking just beneath the surface of that soiled earth. Not far from here, we stumbled upon another gruesome sight, a desolate hill with burned corpses instead of flora, and we could hear nothing but the screeching birds in the ominous sky above us. Now what? Out of nowhere, a ghastly tree spirit appeared, plagued with swelling ulcers, visible even from afar. Who was I to violate the laws of nature and the children of this sickly world? Nay, 'twas better to leave this thing to its own devices. This was a vast graveyard in the wake of cataclysmic destruction. Who had that depraved lady of the manor and her serpent god even been at war with? Surely she hadn't really meant the Erd Tree. After discreetly following the mountainside, I slowly began to feel at ease again. Alas, this delightful sense of security lasted only a moment before rabid dogs cornered me. It turned out, however, that those fiendish sets of rotten teeth ended up saving me. Oh no, because just past this barricade, one of those iron maidens ever unfit for pleasures of the flesh patrolled this barren wasteland. What was this? More of them? Damn those damsels, with their unpleasantly boiling bodies. Men rarely rejected a warm embrace, but their grotesque attempts at affection was too much. Was that soldier hiding? Who could blame him? The nearby maidens considered. Leaving him in the care of those things, I rode across a wooden bridge, and I could have sworn I heard the desperate screams of that poor fellow. Well, at least he wasn't alone anymore. Finally, I was close to the grassy plains of Altus, and could almost hear the humming of the Erd Tree. Strangely enough, Torrent seemed to steer me south and up a rocky path, ignoring a lone figure nearby. I had been brought to a curious lake, where a ghostly mariner looked at me threateningly and summoned a colossal skeleton from beneath the surface of that filthy water. Even if Torrent had been the culprit leading me here, he was apparently not beyond fear, as he suddenly darted past the phantoms, taking me deep into a dark ravine, with signs of volcanic activity. Torrent had really led me astray, and before long we passed unexpected treasures and came upon unreal sights, which were going to haunt me for the rest of my days. A small castle appeared. Why had I been brought here? It made no sense. Oh my. Yet another bloody battlefield. This one full of those mechanical heads spewing fire. The situation quickly became heated, and the bothersome device forced me to flee. But as I approached what turned out to be a fort, I was given the offer to slay a foe more to my liking. Oh, that was the spot. Investigating what lay beyond the stone walls revealed an exceedingly vulgar fellow. His obese frame was covered from head to toe in perhaps the most disagreeable armor I had ever come upon, and he even wielded a huge red flower. How quaint. Surprisingly enough, that brutish warrior was no match for my repeated and, frankly, quite elegant attacks. Ah, the unhealthy abomination had left me his precious flower and parts of his bulky attire. I ended up on the roof, where a voiceless whisper reached me. It wasn't a man trying to flee soldiers torching his home, but rather an apparition, imprisoned for all eternity in a fleeting moment from a long-forgotten past. Leaving that faded memory with a distinct sensation of gloom, I rode further north. All of a sudden, Torrent shrieked. And of course, what else would appear at this point other than a fiery worm heading straight for me, as it spewed thick, almost solid waves of burning bile. It put its horrendous weight on my all-too-fragile body and squashed me like a bug. The ensuing fight was both tedious and difficult. This hideous thing not only came from a lake of fire close by, but it also generously covered the rocky ground with its infernal cascades. It felt like a poorly conceived creation by a malicious god, orchestrating foul injustices from afar while laughing gleefully. Forced to avoid its immense and scaly body, as well as its excreting lava, I removed this ungodly beast and returned it to the obviously sadistic deity ruling these lands. Slowly gathering my thoughts in the wake of that grotesque encounter, I heard someone shouting nearby. That deep rumbling voice was eerily familiar.
Oh, mountain of fire! Bake me in your flames!
By the gods, was that who I thought it was? My heart skipped a beat as I found none other than dearest Alexander. A great jar, and truth be told, my only friend in this world devoid of hope and kindness.
Ah, good sir. What business might you have in such a place as this? I hardly think you're here to temper yourself with flame, considering that fleshly form of yours. Your timing, though, is impeccable as ever. I've been making just the thing for you on my journey here. Take it. I'm sure it'll suit you to a T.
Oh. Was I supposed to wear that?
Perhaps I'll head eastward.
What? Why?
It's an old saying I've caught wind of. Above the lofty clouds, the icy giant's peak...
He was going to depart once more. I had just found him after months on the road, and still, for some unfathomable reason, he wanted to continue that reckless quest of his. I was tempted to repeat words once spoken to me, and implore him to put his foolish ambitions to rest. What a pity. There was nothing to be done. No one could change his mind. Saddened by this unexpected reunion and the sense of loss it evoked, I wished him the best, and we parted ways. Torrent had led me here, somehow sensing my longing for camaraderie. Little did my trustworthy steed know that love was pain. But walking here, I didn't feel anything at all. My skin should crack and peel. I want the fire back. After staring into the abyss of loneliness, something was ignited deep within. I wanted to feel something again. Then why not talk to a certain someone about that? Someone both vile, cunning, and able to channel powers from beyond this diseased reality. There it was, that filthy blade. What I yearned for after that all too brief reunion was to wreak havoc on the world and maybe even feel something again. Wait a minute, what was wrong with this thing? Once again, I found myself wielding a great sword I couldn't fully handle. Some of its hellish powers lay dormant for now, just beyond reach. But this time, I wanted to harness the hidden strength. More than that, I needed it. Like a man ravaged by unrequited love and brought to the brink of being annihilated. There was no other way. It was a question of belief now, and I knew I would somehow make this glorious object of desire bend to my will.